All right, guys. So our first routine is going to be from environmental past. And it says every day, Monday through Monday, only rest when life gets in the way or when I need to lower EQ, feeling discomfort, etc. So right off the bat, I like this guy's routine. I made several videos on like rest days and are they necessary? What does the data say? The way that I recommend doing PE, which is not for tremendously long periods of time, not doing tremendously dangerous things like clamping, for example, where I believe that you should do clamping every other day at most, that you can do it every day. And there's actually benefit to doing it every day because you put your D in a more elongated, expanded state for longer periods of time. It leads to more growth. Overall, I like that. And specifically, having significantly lower erection quality, or if there's any kind of aching or discomfort, like that's when you take a break. So yeah, I mean, that's perfect. So like chef kiss to that already. So the warm-up is going to be running warm water, usually a shower, 5 minutes. Another great warm-up. I don't think you need to have necessarily a shower, but I do think there's definitely merit. If you haven't seen my video on heat, you need to check it out. In particular, there's a rat study that shows that if you take basically a rat tail, you can put it into a more elongated state and keep it in that elongated state if you heat it up first, okay? And this isn't talking about like blasting it. It just means bringing it up to at least, room temperature or to at least body temperature, if not above body temperature. So I think that's a great plan. So far, man, you're 2 for 2. Like this is going on to be possibly the best routine I've reviewed thus far. So next is going to be manual stretches, 20 to 25 minutes. So I think that this is a good period of time in general. In my opinion, that's kind of the bare minimum that you need to actually effectively get gains. And if your goal is for length, then I definitely think that needs to be increased significant, maybe even double it if you can. But, we'll see if there's any more manual stretching time that you include in this routine. But in general, I do think 20 to 25 minutes is enough. I do. I mean, and there was often times when that's what I would do. My goal was usually about 30 minutes when I can. I've talked about this before, basically like what's the ideal duration, but I do believe that, and what the literature suggests is that actually more is more within an extent. I do think there's diminishing returns after about an hour. So next is going to be air pump, warm up set at 200 millimeters of mercury. I also love the fact that he's accurately putting in the correct measurements. So 200 millimeters of mercury is probably right around like 8.2 inches of mercury. So I think that's a pretty decent warm-up set. The thing about going in flaccid is, anybody that's pumped before, is like you go in flaccid, you pump it up, and so your pressure gauge goes up, 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 and then as blood gets engorged into your penis, like the actual negative pressure inside the tube goes down because more of the blood is in your penis. So you're going to have to keep like pump, 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 and then as your penis gets more and more engorged, then the pressure is going to go down and down and down. So when you go in flaccid, you have to deal with much more of that. If you go in, even with the chub, for example, my chest is actually like popping right now. What's good, Hink? Damn. But if you go in with even just a chub, you're going to have less and less of that like blood coming in, pressure going down. But in general, I think that's fine. I think that's a decent warm-up set. Then 2 sets at 300 millimeters of mercury. So I think that's a good pressure. From what I recall, that's about right at 12 inches of mercury. That is a good pressure for gains. That's what the data says. Where am I concluding this from? Guys, I made a whole video about like what is the ideal pressure, okay? What is the ideal set time? What is the ideal pressure? What is the ideal total duration? So based on real science. So if you're interested, check out those videos. Check out my pumping playlist. Callie will include it somewhere in here. Personally, I think that's a great pressure. I think the set time is the max time that I would recommend, typically about 7 to 8 minutes. Past that, you start to see some of those markers of inflammation and potential damage. And so I wouldn't recommend going above that. But honestly, you did like 1 warm-up set and then 2 working sets. I would recommend is that you either increase the working sets, maybe add another set of 7 minutes, or actually decrease your sets and do like 4 5-minute sets rather than 3 7-minute sets. And the reason for that is you start to see more edema, more lymphatic stress when you have a longer set time, especially if you're using an air pump, not like something like a water pump where you have to like fill it up and then put it on again. I think that you'd be better served having more time under pressure in the pump and shorter set time. But overall, I think that's pretty solid. That's enough to get gains. I mean, I would say that 20 minutes of manual stretches and then basically roughly 15 minutes of active pumping time, that is enough to get gains. It just might be a little slower than you might expect. And then I do this routine once in the morning and once in the afternoon. Okay, well, there you go. So, I digress. So by doing this once in the morning and once in the afternoon, I think that is great. The twice a day approach. I made a video about the P-Long study and they took a twice a day approach. I think that fits better in most busy guys' lives than doing 45 minutes of manual stretches and then I'm doing like 30 minutes of pumping, breaking it up into shorter time period. But I think that's great. Now, you do say taking citrulline right after each session. This is the only ding that I will give your otherwise kind of flawless report card right now, is that you want to take citrulline, I would say somewhere around 20 to 30 minutes prior to doing this, because you want that nitric oxide activation. Guys, I made Vigor, guys. It's an Amazon Choice bestseller for a reason, because of its nitric oxide boosting components, including nitric oxide synthesase boosters, as well as actually things that increase the amount of nitric oxide, so the production and the total quantity. But what that's going to do is help maximize your erection quality and help maximize your blood flow. By taking it after, you do get some of the recovery benefits because you're going to have more blood flow, but you want to have it in your system while you're doing this routine to maximize your erection quality in the pump, because I maintain basically the better your erection quality in the pump, you're going to take yourself to that peak level and then use the negative pressure to push past that. But a twice a day citrulline, I do think that's a great approach. I would just say that you do it before. The half-life of citrulline, if I recall correctly, is somewhere around 2 hours. So it's not a particularly long half-life, which is why I think it's perfectly safe to take it multiple times a day. Talk to your doctor. But I just think you're missing the benefit of getting that additional blood flow and that additional safety, that endothelial protection, by using a supplement like Vigor or citrulline before you do your activities. So he says, I've been doing PE on and off for about 8 months, got consistent over the last 4 months, went from about 18.5 centimeters bone pressed to a little shy of 19.5. Dude, I mean, that's less than a year, and a full centimeter, which centimeter, so 1 centimeter divided by 2.54, that's about a third of an inch. Correction, it's about 0.4 of an inch, so just shy of half an inch. Dude, that's remarkable gains if you've been doing that and got that, in 8 months, in my opinion, okay? And so that's great. And then from 13 centimeters erect girth to 13.5 centimeters. So once again, that's fantastic growth, dude. You should be very happy. At half a centimeter, it's about 0.2 inches, maybe just shy of that in 8 months. Once again, guys, I have my whole video about realistic expectations, but I think what's very reasonable is to expect a half an inch in length in a year and a 1/4 inch in girth in a year. And you already basically exceeded that. That's fantastic, man. For my American guys out here, 18.5 centimeters is 7.2 inches and 13 centimeters is about 5.1 inches. Just so everybody is clear, this dude was already well ahead of the game, well ahead of averages. So guys, don't feel discouraged if you hear these one guy results, because there's something that's called selection bias, where people that are bigger are going to be more likely to report their size or be willing to share things like photos and whatnot. But either way, man, that's great results already. And my stars and guys, this guy is trying to get his first 100% routine. This is actually my burner account, guys. I submitted my own routine to rate. But he says, I'm in a weight loss routine, A+, gold star, freaking amazing. I'm about 75 kilos, something about 165 for you Americans. I personally took offense to that. Just kidding, man. Roughly 20 to 22% body fat, and my goal is to reach 68 kilos, about 150, and I'll see where I go from there. So, dude, I don't know, Callie, can we put a perfect stamp on this? I mean, it's not quite the only thing is that citrulline, when you take it, but otherwise, the weight loss, your warm-up routine, doing manual stretches, your pumping sets, your pumping time, the fact that you're doing it twice a day, this is spot on. So I'm very, very encouraged by this routine. Clearly, you're getting good results from it already. Guys, if you're looking for a routine to copy, this is the freaking routine to copy. Okay. This is very good, and he's clearly seeing results, even though it's very easy for anybody to be I've gained this much in text without providing evidence. But, obviously I haven't asked him to provide evidence, and for all I know, he has it posted on his website. So great work, man. That's really good work. Hey guys, I go by the name of Hink. I'm an actual medical doctor, and I've developed a passion for men's health and especially penis enlargement ever since I discovered that it's actually possible to get bigger. And so on basically a weekly basis, I review different routines and give my grades for them. That's what we're doing today. And so if you want to submit your routine, then join me on my subreddit, r/Hink. I do the weekly routine submission post, and just look for that and then submit your routine, and I'll try to do my best to get to it, okay? So next is going to be by Cuervo-an. Hola, buenas. Mi rutina bolsa caliente, 10 minutos, estiramientos manuales, 5 minutos, bomba, 15 minutos, los cuales los divido en presiones diferentes, aumento de presión cada 5 minutos y termino con bolsa caliente hasta que está en fría. Cabe descartar que lo hago antes de dormir. Pienso que su rutina es más o menos bien. Voy a hablar en inglés por todas las personas. So basically he says, my routine, hot bag, 10 minutes. So a warm up with the hot pack, okay? That's fine. Nice warm up, get your blood flow, good. Manual stretches for 5 minutes. I'm not sure what your goal is. If your goal is to just kind of loosen up the tunica before you do some kind of girth work or length work, then that's reasonable. Otherwise, 5 minutes of manual stretches is not going to give you significant length gains and not going to directly benefit you that much. Pumping for 15 minutes, which is divided into different pressures, increasing pressure every 5 minutes. It depends on what your total pressure time is. If you look at the routine we just used, starting at 200 millimeters and increasing to 300 millimeters mercury is what I would basically recommend. But I think the 5 minutes is, the 5 minute sets is pretty good. The one thing I would recommend is incorporating a warm-up set with a pump, 1 pumping warm-up set, and then 3 working sets. And then he says something like, I finished with another hot towel, hot bag until it cools down. And I do this before going to sleep. I think that this could definitely use some improvement. You lack some specifics, and I wanted to specifically choose this because of the Spanish, and hopefully I didn't butcher the translation. Cali, is Spanish speaking, so he'll drop some like LOL Hink if I butchered it. But overall, I think a routine is okay. I'd probably give this like, if you're just going for like minimal enlargement, I would probably give this like a C, maybe a C+. It's not that bad, but I don't think particularly helpful. All right, so next we're going to go to Unstoppable Force 87. He says, my current routine is as follows. Take 5 milligrams prescription tadalafil. 5 milligrams of tadalafil, if you don't have any kind of erectile dysfunction, in my opinion, that is a lot. There was somebody that sounded off in one of my last videos. I think my last routine review was like, I can't believe you would just blindly give people routine advice to take Cialis because Cialis can be dangerous, blah, blah, blah. Guys, like I've made so many videos on sildenafil, tadalafil. Like I'll have Callie put some up there. I think there's even like a medication playlist you guys can check out. Those medicines are dangerous. Like I have literally said how something like combining Viagra and alcohol has literally caused heart attacks in young guys. So I'm not willy-nilly about this, but you need to just like watch my shit, okay? And don't just listen to one video. So that being said, I always recommend taking the smallest amount necessary to get the results you need. If you are just trying to get the benefit as far as increased blood flow, increased erection quality, increased endothelial protection from the tadalafil, then I think 5 milligrams daily is too much. And I would recommend you do 2.5 milligrams every other day like I typically recommend. But if you got that from a doctor and your doctor is telling you to take it at that amount, then who am I to tell you otherwise? But that's just a lot because it also has 17.5 hour half-life. That means you take 1 5 milligram Cialis, 17 and a half hours later, you still have 2.5 milligrams in your body. And so if you take another one the next day, by the time you reach a steady state, which is like right at 7 days, you're going to be hovering right around 7 milligrams of tadalafil in your system, which for some people it's a lot, okay? And so that's a high dose. So just, I might dial that back already. And so then 5 to 7 days a week in the morning, 20-minute manual stretches, 1 to 2-minute holds, changing from straight down to the sides to between the cheeks. I really like that, okay? I think you're hitting all the angles. Guys, I have a whole video about like manual stretches. And of course, guys, if you want a step-by-step guide based on real literature where I go through everything that I recommend and the data to support it, my course is available, guys. It's selling like hotcakes, okay? I'm blown away by how well it's been received. The link is in the description, guys. And you know what? Let's do a giveaway. What I need you to do is like this video, be a subscriber, or subscribe, and leave a comment saying like, Hink, I love your course. And I will give away, let's say, at least 3 of my courses, guys. I'll give away 3 of my courses over the span of 7 days. So if you're still watching this video and it's within 7 days after the release, you're certainly still eligible for that course. So do that. I'll reach out. I'll tell you to send me an email and we'll link up and I'll get you the coupon for 100% off the course. But back to it. So his morning routine is manual stretches and then 10 minutes pump at 8 inches of mercury. Guys, personally, you need to make sure you can do them what you can tolerate, okay? If you look at the data, 8 inches of mercury, in my opinion, is not enough to cause actual significant enlargement, okay? It's enough to help with erection quality. It's enough to help recover from injury. And in fact, 8 inches of mercury is typically what they recommend in penile rehab, guys. If you haven't seen my video on the best pressure to use, like, please check it out. But I would recommend you go higher if you can tolerate it. If you feel like your D is about to break off at 8 inches of mercury, then don't go above it, okay? So then in the afternoon, he says 1 scoop of Vigor, then 20 minutes of manual. So obviously, guys, Vigor, like I literally designed it for, pee-related purposes. It just happens to be a great pee workout, which is why Hink has this massive chest pump right now. Let's go. But I digress. So love the vigor. Then 20 minutes of manuals, pump for 4 sets of 5 minutes at 5 inches of mercury, 8 to 10 inches of mercury, then 9 to 11 inches of mercury. I think that that's a pretty solid progression right there. Once again, I think the minimum working pressure, if you can tolerate it safely, is about 10 inches of mercury, okay? I would try to do your warm-up set and then kind of progress to that 10 to 11 range a little bit quicker if you can tolerate it. And I see on your last set, you say 10 to 12 inches of mercury with 2 to 2.5 minute breaks in between. So on the data where they look at actually like rats, okay, I know it's rat data, as I'm sure. I actually think it's rat studies and you can't, but 2 to 2.5 minutes, I think that's plenty. Personally, for me, I tend to do like maybe even 30 to 60 minute like breaks in between. So I wouldn't go above 2 minutes, but 2.5 minutes, that's fine. Start with the lower pressure and then gradually progress. I think that's good, man. So I think that this section in particular is definitely better. In the morning, that routine where you're pumping at a lower pressure, you know, that is actually great for penile health and recovery. So I'm actually going to go back and amend my statement and say, I like that, okay? I would still say you could do like 2 sets at 8 inches of mercury and then bump it up to at least 10 to get those extra girth gains. But, you know, I still think that's good as it is. I've been alternating my evening expansions exercise between pumping one day and soft clamping with silicone toe shields. Next, I found that clamping causes more discoloration and doesn't give me the same amount of expansion. Trying to decide if I should remove soft clamping entirely. So guys, like the biggest thing in my opinion about clamping is that because you are directly applying pressure to your D and you're going to increase your internal pressure, the pressures are going to rise a lot higher typically than those that are used in pumping. And so that's why I was going to call names, but I'm not going to do that. But that's why some people say like pumping never worked for me, only clamping worked, is because when they clamp, they reach much higher internal pressure of the penile chambers. It's not that pumping was ineffective, it's that they were pumping at too low a pressure. And it's a little frustrating because on my Hink trial, literally all but 2 of the guys got amazing girth results and amazing length results. Everybody got amazing length results. I'm going to publish the data soon, guys. But there's a couple of guys that didn't get good girth results. One guy was using too narrow a cylinder. He literally couldn't expand because his cylinder was too narrow. And he said, I don't think I got girth because I was using a narrow cylinder. It's like, no shit, dude. Sorry if you're watching this, bro. I mean, obviously not going to put you on blast. And the other guy wasn't using enough pressure, okay? He was using sets at like 8 inches. And even though my Hink trial, I tried to, specifically say what pressure to use, it is what it is. That video is coming soon. That being said, when you increase more of that pressure, you're going to put more pressure on the veins and you're going to cause more of like the leaking in the blood to that area and that hemosiderin staining that causes discoloration because you have more pressure. Obviously, especially if you're using like real tight toe shields, that's going to cause more risk of injury and more discoloration. I would advise you to remove it and see what you can get with pumping alone and only switch to that if you need it. He says, I'm also interested in adding an extender to switch out some of the manual stretches, but haven't made a decision yet. I mean, obviously, guys, you guys probably seen my like enlargement tier list. Extenders have the best, without a doubt, scientific data showing that without a doubt, it causes your penile enlargement. It's only length enlargement, but it is safe and it's backed by the most science that we have right now. So I'm never going to try to advise you against that. The thing about extenders is it involves you like getting an extender and then like, are you going to vacuum hang? And then if you're going to vacuum hang, are you at risk of blisters? Or if you're going to use a compression hanger, like what we have available on peakmilephysique.com, the male hanger, guys, is a great compression hanger. I actually have one back there. But you still have the risk of like compression of your glands. Whereas for me, I do like to just use my hand and apply like light pressure, and you're frequently like stretch, relax, rather than like strapping it on and leaving it there for 40 minutes. But I still think it's perfectly reasonable to consider an extender, okay? Especially a lot of people get bored, and I'm not gonna lie, guys, like I do manual stretches and I'm like, oh, like, all right, check my timer, like, oh, come on, and like distract myself with YouTube videos and whatnot. But so I think it's very reasonable to try an extender if you haven't yet. Overall, I like your routine, man. I am gonna go ahead and I'm going to give it an A-. I think it's a good routine. I think it's a safe routine. I think that if you tweak some minor things like the pressure that you use, you might experience even more gains. Once again, I would just stick to the pumping, especially if you're having discoloration with clamping. But guys, that's going to do it for this one. I think it's long enough. All the ways you can support me or Callie are in the link below. If you want to reach me for coaching, patreon.com/.hink. Anyways, guys, I love you guys. So remember, guys, be the best version of yourself. There's nothing wrong with self-improvement, but you are enough just as you are. All right, guys, peace and love.
Dr. Hink got the plug on the health, yeah. Got you thinking about your wealth, yeah. In his office, no stealth, yeah. Pinnacle of that below the belt, yeah. Checks and balance, he's managing. Working miracles, no damage. Got you covered, no panicking. Stay calm. In the clinic, no vanishing. Yeah, with Doc Hink, it's the way back.